There's a certain kind of pain that only comes with age, not the kind that settles in your bones or slows your step, but the kind that blooms quietly when your sacrifices are mistaken for weakness. I had just turned 79 when I made the final mortgage payment on my house. It was a small brick house on a quiet street, lined with old maple trees that turned gold in the fall. It wasn't much, not flashy or modern, but it was mine. Every inch of it held the story of a life built from nothing. My late husband, Thomas, and I bought that house when we were young and full of hope. He worked construction during the day and took shifts at the steel mill at night. I worked in a diner, poured coffee and wiped counters for years. We never had much, but we had each other, and we poured every bit of ourselves into that home. Brick by brick, we built a life. And even after Thomas passed away, 9 years ago now, I kept the house going. Paid every bill on time, shoveled the snow in winter, mowed the grass in summer. I fixed the roof myself once. That house wasn't just a shelter. It was a memory. It was a legacy. So when I made that final payment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: pride. I'd done it. At 79, I was debt-free. That little deed in my drawer with my name on it? That was my trophy. I remember sitting at the kitchen table the day the last check cleared. The sun filtered through the lace curtains, warming the tile floor. I held the receipt from the bank in my hands and whispered to the photo of Thomas on the mantel, "We did it, love. It's finally ours, free and clear." I thought naively that my son would be proud of me. Andrew, my only child, lived just half an hour away with his wife, Kelly, and their 2 children. He used to come around more often, before Kelly decided I wasn't efficient with my time. That's the word she used. Efficient. As if love was a transaction. Kelly, oh, where do I begin with her? Ambitious. Cold. Beautiful in the way porcelain dolls are beautiful, delicate on the outside, hollow behind the eyes. She was always calculating. The kind of woman who'd smile while taking everything you had. Still, I tried. I baked them pies. I offered to babysit. I never interfered, never imposed. I simply wanted to be a part of their lives. So that weekend, I invited them over. I even made Thomas's favorite, chicken pot pie from scratch, the way he liked it with extra time in the crust. I thought we'd sit, eat, maybe raise a glass to the end of my mortgage. Instead, I opened my door to betrayal. They walked in with plastic smiles. Kelly wore one of her designer coats, the kind that looked like it cost more than my monthly pension. Andrew gave me a quick hug, barely meeting my eyes. We sat. I served the pie. We ate. It was quiet. Too quiet. And then, with the confidence of a thief in broad daylight, Kelly leaned forward, fork still in hand, and said, "So now that the house is finally paid off, we were thinking, it's the perfect time to transition it into a shared family asset." I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. Shared. Andrew jumped in quickly, as if rehearsed. "Yeah, Mom. I mean, you don't really need all this space anymore. It's a lot for one person. We could help. We've been talking about moving in, help you maintain things, take care of the place." Kelly smiled, like she was offering me a blessing. "You could keep the small room in the back, of course. The rest of the house would be for us and the kids. That way, everyone benefits." Benefits. My chest tightened. I set my fork down slowly, folded my napkin, and placed it on my lap. "This house is mine," I said softly. "I just paid it off. I haven't even framed the deed yet." Kelly laughed like I'd told a joke. "Exactly. You've done your part. Now it's time to share the fruit of all that hard work. It's only fair." That word, fair, rang in my ears like a siren. Andrew reached for his glass of water. "Think about it, Mom. We could renovate. Upgrade the kitchen. Add a home office. The kids would have space. And you wouldn't have to be alone anymore." The way they said it, you'd think they were saints. Rescuing an old woman from her solitude. But I saw through it. They weren't offering care. They were circling like vultures. I stood up and excused myself. In the kitchen, I gripped the counter until the dizziness passed. My knees wobbled. My breath came in short gasps. They didn't know I heard Kelly whisper as I walked away. "She'll cave. She always does." I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the dining table, the dishes still in the sink, the pie untouched. Thomas's photo watched me from the mantel. I picked up my old leather notebook, the one I'd used for recipes, phone numbers, little grocery lists, and flipped to a blank page. I wrote, October 14th, Andrew and Kelly visited. Suggested house becomes family property. Offered me back bedroom. Assumed ownership. And beneath that, I scrolled a single line. They think I'm too old to fight. They're wrong. From that night on, I began writing everything down. Dates. Conversations. Smirks. Words they thought I'd forget. Because if they wanted a war, I'd fight it my way. With patience. With paper. And with a plan. 1 week after the dinner ambush, I heard the sound of tires on gravel. I peeked through the blinds. Andrew's silver SUV crept into the driveway like a wolf pretending to be a guest. Kelly stepped out first. Tall boots. Skinny jeans. Sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. She carried something in her hand, a clipboard or maybe a tablet. I couldn't tell from the window. Andrew followed her out with a sheepish look, holding 2 paper cups from the coffee shop near their house. I didn't invite them. They didn't call. And yet, here they were. I didn't move from the window. I just watched as they walked right up to the door. No knock. Andrew turned the handle and let them in. Mom, he called out casually, like this was normal. Like this wasn't a violation. We brought coffee. Kelly's voice followed. And I had a few thoughts about the layout. Just small things. You'll love it. I stepped out of the kitchen, my slippers brushing against the wood floor. Kelly was already halfway into the living room, eyes scanning the walls. She pulled a measuring tape from her purse. Who even carries one in their purse? I was thinking, she said, pulling it out with a snap, this wall could come down completely. Opens up the space. The kids will have room to play, and maybe a reading nook for me by the window. She didn't even look at me. Andrew sipped his coffee, glancing at the fireplace. We could put a big TV here, right? The current one's kinda small. I didn't answer. I was too focused on keeping my hands from shaking. Not from fear. From rage. This is not a project, I said finally, my voice low. This is my home. Kelly turned, smiling as if she hadn't heard the steel in my tone. Clara, you don't have to worry. We're doing this for you. You'll love the updates. You can still stay in the small back room. It'll be cozy. Cozy. That word hit me like a slap. Like being patted on the head. Like being told to go sit quietly in a corner. I didn't respond. I just stared at her, letting silence do the talking. She misread it, as she always did. She thought silence meant surrender. They stayed for another hour, walking the house like tourists in a museum they already owned. Kelly made notes. Andrew nodded along. And then they left, smiling. Kelly even kissed my cheek and said, "We're so excited, Clara. It's going to be amazing." When the door finally clicked shut behind them, I leaned against it. Not in weakness. In disbelief. I pulled out my notebook. October 21st, entered without knocking. Kelly measuring walls. Andrew approving. Discussed renovations as if already decided. My existence equals background noise. Underlined twice, not a project. A home. Later that evening, my neighbor Susan called. She's lived next door for 30 years. We've swapped tomatoes from our gardens and watched each other's mailboxes when one of us went out of town. I saw Kelly taking photos of the house from the street, she said, her voice wary. With her phone. Looked like she was listing it for sale or something. My grip on the phone tightened. She said it's a family gathering place now. Wants to modernize. Susan snorted. Don't let them push you out, Clara. You're not some old wallpaper they can peel off the walls. I won't, I promised, but even I could hear the tension in my voice. Because deep down, I wasn't sure what not letting them meant. Not yet. But I would find out. That Sunday they returned, this time with their 2 children. Emma, age 6, and Max, age 4. Sweet kids. Innocent. They didn't know any better. They came bursting through the hallway like it was their playground. Emma pointed at my old guest room and shouted, "This is my room." Max giggled and ran into my sewing room, grabbing my pincushion like it was a toy. Kelly followed behind, laughing as if it were a grand joke. "See," she said. "They already feel right at home. Isn't that lovely?" I smiled at the children. But inside, I was screaming. After they left, boxes of toys left behind like markers of territory, I sat by the fireplace, Thomas's photo glowing in the soft lamplight. "They think they've already won," I whispered. But I knew something they didn't. Kelly was loud. Too loud. Arrogant people always are. They think if they shout their plans, the world will obey. But they forget, some of us have lived through real storms. We don't shout. We wait. We plan. I pulled my notebook from under the seat cushion and wrote, October 29th, children claimed rooms. Kelly encouraged it. Andrew silent. Arrogance growing. House already being treated as theirs. One final line. The trap is building itself. They just don't see the bars yet. By the time November rolled around, I had transformed from a stunned widow into a quiet tactician. I no longer cried over the way my son looked at me like a burden. I no longer trembled at Kelly's voice or her dismissive tone. My grief had found a new form, resolve. But Kelly wasn't done, and I knew it. She had too much pride to let the conversation at the dinner table be the final word. When people like her feel cornered, they don't reflect. They retaliate. And sure enough, on the first Saturday of November, I woke to an eerie quiet, then the sound of laughter. Loud, unfamiliar laughter that didn't belong in my house. I glanced at the clock, 11:22 a.m. It was late for me, but early for a party. I shuffled to the window, and my stomach dropped. 5, 6, maybe more cars lined my driveway. SUVs. Luxury sedans. Even a van with magnetic signs that read Mitchell Interiors. I wasn't invited. I pulled on my sweater, tied my robe around my waist, and made my way down the hallway. As I got closer to the staircase, the scent hit me. Barbecue. Perfume. Cheap red wine. It was a mockery of everything Thomas and I had built in that house. Warm, honest, simple. At the bottom of the stairs, the noise grew louder, laughter, clinking glasses, pop music humming softly through a Bluetooth speaker. I stepped into the kitchen and froze. There she was. Kelly, my daughter-in-law, wearing a pearl-colored blouse tucked into designer jeans, a glass of Chardonnay in her hand, standing like she owned the place. Her blonde hair was curled into perfect waves, and her lipstick was the same shade as a bleeding heart. She turned, her eyes wide with feigned surprise. "Clara, you're up." "Up," I said, my voice low. "What is this?" She laughed like she was humoring a child. "Oh, just a little get-together. Some family friends. Thought it would be fun. You know, celebrate the house finally being part of the Mitchell estate." I scanned the room. Strangers. Faces I'd never seen before nibbling on canapés at my dining table, standing around my fireplace, their wine glasses dangerously close to my crocheted table runners. One woman clapped her hands and said to Kelly, "This place is adorable. You're going to make it fabulous." Kelly smiled wide. "Oh, just wait. We've already started talking about renovations. The kitchen's first. I've always hated tile counters." My tile counters. My jaw tightened. I stepped forward, my hands curled into fists at my sides. "Kelly, may I speak with you in private?" She blinked, feigning confusion. "Now's not really the time." I didn't flinch. "Now." The room quieted. A few heads turned. One man shifted uncomfortably, his gaze dropping to the floor. Andrew was standing in the corner, near the hallway. He had a drink in his hand but wasn't sipping it. His face was pale, distant. His shoulders hunched like a child caught stealing. Kelly sighed. All right. She followed me toward the hallway like I was the inconvenience, not the other way around. In the hallway, just out of earshot, I turned to face her. "I didn't approve this," I said. She crossed her arms. "We didn't need your approval. The house is family property now." "It is not. And you are humiliating yourself." Kelly rolled her eyes. "No, I'm elevating this place. You should thank me." I felt my heart racing, but I kept my tone calm. "Your guests are about to find out the truth." She scoffed. "They already know. Andrew's your only child. What's yours will be his. That's how inheritance works. I pulled my phone from my pocket, clicked the recording app, and let it run. She didn't notice. Too confident in her lies. Then I said something she didn't expect. Do you know what today is? She blinked. Saturday. It's the day your party becomes a courtroom. With that, I walked back into the living room, letting my feet echo loudly across the hardwood floor. The room quieted as I stood in front of the fireplace. All eyes turned to me, some in confusion, others in embarrassment. Hello, I said, steady and loud. Some of you know me. Most of you don't. I'm Clara Mitchell. And this is my home. Not Kelly's. Not Andrew's. Mine. It has been mine for 43 years, and last month, I paid off the final mortgage payment. Kelly burst in behind me, her wine glass sloshing. Clara, please. I raised my hand. No. You've had your say. Now it's my turn. I reached into my handbag and pulled out the envelope, thick, sealed, official. I laid it down on the coffee table for all to see. This is an irrevocable trust, I said, my voice clear. Filed, notarized, and approved. It protects this property from being claimed, inherited, or touched by anyone without my written consent. That includes Andrew. That includes Kelly. And yes, that includes anyone who believed their presence here meant ownership. Murmurs rippled across the room. One woman leaned in to look at the document, her expression shifting from curiosity to discomfort. Another man quietly set his wine glass down on the mantel. Kelly lunged forward. You can't just, this isn't fair. I turned to her, eyes locked. You threw a party in a home you don't own. Invited guests without permission. Lied to everyone. Is that fair? Andrew finally spoke, his voice hollow. Mom. I turned to him. I packed your lunches for 12 years, Andrew. I stitched your prom suit by hand. I held your hand when Thomas died. And you let her do this to me. He looked away. His shame was silent, but I saw it. Kelly's voice was sharp now. This isn't over. No, I said, stepping forward, my spine straighter than it had been in years. It's just beginning. Her guests, one by one, began to gather their coats and bags. A few offered hushed apologies. One woman whispered, I'm so sorry. I thought. I know, I said. You were misled. When the room was empty, I turned to Kelly and Andrew. You have 10 minutes to get your things out of this house, I said quietly. After that, I'm changing the locks. Kelly's mouth opened in protest, but no words came. She stomped toward the front door, heels striking like war drums, slamming it behind her so hard the windows rattled. Andrew remained. I never wanted it to go this far, he whispered. I looked at him, the boy I once held in my arms. You let her take it there. I'm sorry, he said, voice cracking. I hope you are, I replied. He followed her out. When the door closed, I locked it behind them. Then I slid the chain, turned the deadbolt, and leaned against the cool wood. The silence that followed was the sweetest sound I'd heard in weeks. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I stood tall, heart steady, soul quiet. That night, I poured a cup of tea and sat by the fire, Thomas's photo beside me. I opened my notebook, flipping to a fresh page. November 15th, Kelly hosted party in MY home. Claimed ownership in front of guests. Legal trust revealed. Guests witnessed truth. Locks changed. I underlined the last sentence 3 times. Then I whispered to the photo, they called it family property. But this house has only ever had one true owner. The flames flickered as if in agreement. And I smiled. Because the war was over. But the story wasn't. Not yet. After the guests left that day, after the door slammed and silence returned to my home, I sat for a long while in my armchair. The fire was nothing but glowing embers now, and the room smelled faintly of wine, smoke, and betrayal. It was done. Legally, emotionally, physically, I had drawn the line. But if there's one thing I knew about Kelly Mitchell, it was this: she didn't lose gracefully. She didn't fold and disappear when the game ended. No. She flipped the board and tried to rewrite the rules. And I could feel it. Like the stillness before a storm. 2 weeks passed. I enjoyed them quietly. The phone stopped ringing. No knocks on the door. No boxes mysteriously appearing in the hallway. No unannounced visits or measuring tapes scraping across my walls. For the first time in months, I moved freely through my home without anxiety clawing at my chest. Susan, my neighbor, brought over pumpkin muffins one morning. "Your place looks calmer," she said, glancing around as she sat at my kitchen table. "I feel calmer," I replied. She looked me in the eyes. "You think it's over?" I smiled softly. "With Kelly? Never." She leaned in. "Then stay ready." And I did. That following Sunday, I wore my best church dress, the blue one with embroidered sleeves, and joined the choir like always. The hymns filled me with peace. After the service, I lingered outside with the other churchgoers, sipping weak coffee and trading small talk. That's when I saw it. Mrs. Thompson, an old acquaintance from years back, approached with a hesitant smile. "Clara, dear. I heard a strange rumor," she said gently. "Someone told me you were moving into assisted living soon? That your son and daughter-in-law are renovating the home." I blinked. There it was. Kelly's next move. Spreading whispers in the community, sowing confusion like a spider spinning her web. I kept my voice even. "I'm not going anywhere. And my house isn't being touched." She nodded slowly. "Just thought you should know what's being said." I thanked her, walked home, and pulled out my notebook. December 2nd, rumors in church circle. Kelly claiming I'm moving to assisted living. She was trying to turn the tide of public opinion. Trying to make my resistance look like old age. Senility. Isolation. But I had been underestimated before. I went to the library the next day. Used the community computer to log into social media. Kelly had recently started posting more frequently, photos of fabric samples, kitchen layouts, faux inspirational captions about starting new chapters, and taking care of family elders. Subtle but clear. To the average person, it looked like a dutiful daughter-in-law preparing a new home. But I could see through the lies. She was rewriting the story online. Telling her own version where I was a frail old woman too lost in her memories to manage a home. Where she and Andrew were the heroes, stepping in to help before the house crumbled around me. She forgot I knew how to write too. That night, I posted a single photo, me standing beside my fireplace, smiling, holding the envelope with the legal trust. The caption? "This home has stood for 43 years. It will stand a few more under my care. Don't believe everything you hear. Especially from those who never built anything themselves." I didn't tag anyone. I didn't need to. The comments came quickly. Friends. Neighbors. Even former co-workers I hadn't spoken to in years. "Proud of you, Clara. You're stronger than most people half your age. Never doubted you for a second." Kelly didn't respond. But her silence told me everything. I had stolen her spotlight. Again. 2 days later, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in bold, block letters. Inside was a printed article, something from a lifestyle blog about the dangers of aging alone. Highlighted paragraphs spoke about cognitive decline, memory issues, and the importance of family intervention. At the bottom, in black ink, someone had scrawled, "It's time to hand it over. Before something happens." No signature. Just a threat. I folded the paper neatly, put it back in the envelope, and slid it into my notebook. December 5th, anonymous letter. Implied threat. I took the next day to visit Mr. Porter again. He greeted me with a warm smile. "Clara," he said, "you've been busy." I handed him the letter. His smile vanished. "This is harassment," he said plainly. "You want to press charges?" "Not yet," I replied. "But I want it logged." He made a copy, stamped it, and slipped it into a folder with my name on it. "You're building a fortress," he said. "I already live in one," I answered. "Now I'm just locking every door." A few days passed in peace again. I decorated for Christmas, white lights on the porch, a small tree in the corner of the living room. I even placed Thomas's favorite nutcracker on the mantel. Then came the knock. It was late, close to 8 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Kelly stood there. Alone. Her hair was pulled back. Her makeup was flawless. She wore a long coat, too elegant for the weather, and held a red gift bag in one hand. "Can I come in?" she asked sweetly. I didn't answer, just stepped aside and let her. She walked in slowly, glancing around like it was a museum. Her tone was calm, calculated. "I brought you something." She handed me the bag. Inside was a box of expensive chocolates and a card. I opened it. "Let's start over. Family matters most. Kelly." I looked up at her, and she smiled. But her eyes were ice. "What do you want?" I asked. She dropped the smile. "You made your point. Congratulations. You embarrassed me. You humiliated Andrew. You turned our friends against us." "I didn't turn anyone," I said. "They saw the truth." She took a step closer. "We're not leaving town, Clara. We're not going away. And Andrew is still your son. One day when you're gone, this house—" "No," I said firmly. "When I'm gone, this house will go to the next person who deserves it. And that's not you." Her lips tightened. "You've made an enemy you didn't need to," she said, voice sharp. I met her stare. "And you underestimated a woman who's buried a husband, raised a son, and paid for this home one check at a time. You think that makes me weak? It makes me bulletproof." Kelly scoffed. "This won't be the last time you see me." "I know," I said. "But next time, I won't open the door." She turned on her heel and walked out. No slamming this time. Just a cold breeze that followed her down the path. I sat down in my chair, pulled the card from the bag, and tossed it into the fire. The flames consumed the paper quickly, curling the edges and devouring her pretty lie. Then I reached for my pen. December 12th, Kelly visited. Offered false truce. Threatened future conflict. I paused. Then added, "I'm ready. Always." And that was the last time I saw her in person. But not the last time I heard from her. In the following weeks, I got calls from real estate agents, asking if I was interested in listing my property. Flyers showed up in my mailbox about elder care services and downsizing for retirement. Kelly's campaign had gone digital. But I didn't flinch. Because my walls were protected. My lawyer was ready. My notebook was full. And my heart? It was no longer afraid. One final entry. December 24th, house stands. Heart steady. Enemies circling, but walls unshaken. I lit a candle beside Thomas's photo. And whispered, "Merry Christmas, love. We made it another year." I didn't know what the new year would bring. But I knew one thing for sure. They could gossip. They could threaten. They could even throw parties in my living room. But they'd never own this home. Because I had already claimed it, once with money. And again with fire. Thank you for watching. If this story touched something in you, let me know in the comments. Your story matters too. Hit subscribe. This journey is just getting started.